How many times have you been asked if you could survive on a deserted island?
Oh, so many times.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back for a brand new edition of Collider Ladies Night. Very excited about this one because I feel like the show passed me by when it first hit Amazon, but now it's finally time for me to cover the wilds. And I was about to say I get to talk to one of my favorite cast members, but the ensemble in this show is all incredible. But I'm so excited to have Mia Healey today on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So it is about time our viewers got to know you a little bit better. And I usually like to start off in the place. What movie, show, performance, personal experience, you name it, first made you say, I have to be an actor?
Oh, I think for me, it was something that was just innately just part of who I was as a child. And there was just always a pull there that is kind of unexplainable. But I do remember just being a kid and just wanting to just constantly be performing. And my parents, it was interesting because I don't come from a family of very creative people. So it was definitely this strange, like I was this kid that just had this like pull towards this craft that no one else really had. So it was strange. But I remember doing my first acting class at ATYP in Sydney when I was 4 years old that my mum took me to because I think they were a bit sick of seeing my at-home performances, and they were like, let's chuck her in a classroom. And I loved it, and ever since then I've just been obsessed with it. There are some movies that I draw from that throughout my life I watch, and it makes me reignites that flame in me towards this. One of them being Blue Jasmine with Kate Blanchett. I love that movie. And similarly, Streetcar Named Desire with Marlon Brando. Love that movie. It depends on like times of my life as well. Like there are some movies that just hit different that I'm like, that I needed in that moment that keep pushing me forward.
Because I'm semi still in the 2020 recap zone, is there any movie that came out in 2020 that kind of really struck you?
Oh gosh, I don't even think I went to the movies in 2020,
You
sadly.
probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be sitting here and being like, oh yeah, I went to the movies. No, I don't. It's funny, 2020 was an interesting year. I wasn't really watching a lot of new films. I did watch Normal People.
Ah, solid choice.
Yeah, I read Conversations with People, which is by the same author. So I was really excited to watch that, and I loved that series. Um, and I think I found myself in a pattern during 2020, falling back into the movies that I'd seen before and TV series that just made me feel safe and happy. I felt like I just needed that in 2020 to just like watch Friends and just feel like I was around my friends. You know what I mean?
Comfort watch was very, very important.
Yes.
So you knew you wanted to be an actor from a very young age, but when you kind of pictured yourself making it, what were you specifically picturing? Was it, I want to be a movie star in TV shows, in comedies, an action hero? What was it?
I all throughout high school, I was really into theater, and musical theater specifically. I always saw myself, I went and saw Wicked and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a musical theater person. It hasn't really turned out that way so far, but you never know.
At the beginning.
It's, yeah, still the beginning. But yeah, I didn't know I was going to be in so much screen. I always knew I wanted to be involved in it, and I didn't care about what that really looked like. I didn't really have this image of like, I want to be this big movie star, but I did always think I was going to be in comedy for some reason. I think growing up and watching like Seinfeld and Friends and stuff like that, I thought, oh my gosh, that just looks like so much fun and something I so want to do. And it wasn't until I went to drama school that I kind of realized that drama was my preferred sort of genre. And I love drama now. It's like the things that I look for, and like the scripts that I read that I feel most connected to are the ones that are like about a really messed up person usually.
So if you're drawn to drama, is there anything in particular about it that speaks to you other than, I mean, I get, for whatever reason, the only other thing that's coming to my mind right now is comedy, but
Yeah.
something that tests you and your craft that maybe other genres don't.
I think the fact that it does test me the most is what my draw to it is the fact that it is challenging, and it just resembling the human experience, which you can find in every single genre. But I feel like drama, for me personally, the dramas that I read and see, I'm like, that is just human experience, and kind of diving into something that is just human is something that I really look forward to when performing, just exploring what it means to be a person and like breathe life into something that is just so bizarre and strange, which is what life is all about. Those really awkward, terrible, like heartbreaking moments in life, that's what it's all about. So I kind of love like diving into that stuff because it just makes me feel more human. I think sometimes I feel like most human when I'm acting, because I'm like experiencing it and it's not even me as Mia. I don't know. It's like it's weird.
Do you prefer for the roles that you take to have like a touch of you or something that you could directly relate to, or something completely different from your own reality?
I try and find reasons why I relate to my character or the characters that I'm like auditioning for. I try and find something that I can relate to them with, and I think that you can. I feel like I can relate to absolutely everybody. Like there are people that I disagree with. There are things that people do that I would never do myself, but I can always come back to relating to, that needing to be loved or that feeling of being alone or whatever it is. Like there's always a feeling there that I can relate to. But the roles that are most interesting to me are always the ones that are furthest from me as possible, because it's a challenge, and also because I live my life. I don't need to play a role as my life. Like that's not why I do it.
It's part of the reason why I can't get enough of storytelling. It's really one of our only ways to experience something other than our own reality.
Exactly. It's such a thrill to do it. Like I feel so lucky to be able to do that because it's so cool. you know
So going back to just the beginning of your career and what you brought up about you being the only one in your family who does this kind of thing, what did your parents and the folks around you say when you're like, I'm going to pursue the career path of becoming an actor? Because we all know how difficult it is to make
Yeah.
it in Hollywood. Did they ever say something like you should pursue a more traditional path?
You know what? My parents are like the most supportive people in the world. And they always, like, since I was 4 years old and they sent me to that acting class, they were like, damn, like, she's going to do this. And there were moments, during high school where you get wrapped up. Like, I always wanted to be an actor, but you get wrapped up in Australia, we have the HSC, which is like your final exam that gives you the mark to go to uni. And, you get a good mark and, initially it's like, oh, I got a good mark, I'm gonna go to uni and I'm gonna be a lawyer or something. And then my parents have always been like, no, like that's not what you love. And they just support me and just want me to do what I love. And I remember I would have been in year 12, and we had a guidance counselor come in and basically just give me the whole cliche spiel about why I shouldn't be an actor and how it's never going to work and like da 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 da. And my parents just sat there and really laid into her and were just like, no. So they've not only been supportive, but like almost kind of like dragging me along to do it, even when I'm kind of like having doubts in the past. So it's
I
great.
love hearing that. And I also wonder what that guidance counselor thinks of the wilds.
I know. I really would. Yeah, I want to see her again.
So give me like a little sense of the timeline here. How much time passed between you graduating and you booking the wilds? Was there even enough time there to do the crazy audition thing and try to book whatever? Or was this just, something you got early on that happened to land?
It was early on, and I'm so grateful for that. It was very surprising and random and all very just, fresh out the gate. I think I just came out of drama school, all guns blazing, just so eager and excited. And thankfully this job, which has just been the best job, landed. The timeline was probably around like sort of a few months of auditioning and working as a receptionist that I really loved. But then after season 1, when I came back, after the pilot before season 1, that's when I was doing all of the auditioning that every actor experiences.
So I have questions about that too. When did you shoot the pilot, and then when did you shoot season one officially?
Yes, so there was a big gap between them. So we filmed the pilot in September of 2018, and then we filmed season one in September 2019.
When you were first going into the pilot, how much did you know about your character?
I did not know as I didn't know anything really. I read the script and I read my sides and just was I just there was something about her that because she was so different to me, and she becomes a lot more like me throughout the series, which is kind of funny. But I just there was something about the script that was just the writing was amazing, and just these fully fleshed out characters that I was just obsessed with. But I didn't know about all of the things that she would go through. I didn't know about her teeth or her sexuality or things like that. So those were the really exciting things that got to happen when I had already finished filming the pilot. I was like, damn, I'm thankful I got this role. This is like just getting better and better.
So you guys finished the pilot, and then what happens? Is it basically just sitting around waiting to hear if you're getting picked up?
That was like one of the hardest things ever, having to wait a year, because we finished in around October 2018, and we were like, okay, we'll find out by Christmas. We thought Christmas. So then from December through till like August, we were like every day waiting by the phone sort of thing. It's hard because you're like, so you get so connected to this character and like you really want it to happen, but you're also trying to like preserve your like feelings. You don't want to like get yourself hurt, so you're constantly waiting but don't want to think about it, and you're stuck in this limbo that I think every actor can relate to, that limbo feeling, because it happens when you're auditioning or when you're on set and you're waiting around. Like the patience that you need to be an actor, I really learned from that. So I'm grateful for it, because it really taught me how to be patient and that all I can do is just do the job, and then everything else is like out of my control, and I just have to sit back and like let the magic happen.
The magic did happen. But before we even get to the bulk of the season, so what happened audition-wise between shooting the pilot and waiting for the word that season one was a go?
I actually went to LA. I totally forgot about this. I went to LA in October as soon as we wrapped the pilot, I got on a plane from New Zealand and went straight to LA, and lived there for 3 months, just auditioning, which actually was I loved it and I love being there, and a lot of my team is there, so which was great. But because I didn't have the visa, I was just on an ESTA visa as an Australian in America. I couldn't actually book any roles. So if I got close to something, it was like, like the visa process, it's just too much. So it was like this constant like, like why couldn't my dad have been American sort of like drama? But it was fine. It was actually a really great experience. And actually one of the girls who was in the wilds with me, Eleanor James, came with me. So because we became just best friends on the pilot. And she was like, what are you doing after this? And I was like, I'm going to go to LA. And she was like, okay, cool. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, nothing. I might want to come. She's like, fuck it.
While you were going through that experience, even though I guess you couldn't really take a job at that point, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from going through that audition grind that you're going to hold on to for future trips to LA?
I think I definitely patience, definitely being kind to yourself. I think it's really important for people to stay kind to themselves when they're constantly auditioning and putting themselves like emotionally on the line every time they walk through those doors. And I think it was also a good time for me to learn to not be so desperate for a job, and to just remain for me to just stay true to the fact that I just love this craft and I love acting, and that's what it is. And if I get a job, I get a job. And if I don't, or if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I'm still doing it because I love it. I'm not doing it for money or success or fame or anything like that. Like as long as I think I just realized just staying true to why I'm here and centering myself on like why I'm here, why I'm doing this, then like nothing can go wrong, because you're just doing it for you. And that's the most important thing.
I feel like that's the only way to keep yourself centered in this business.
I agree.
So, first big screen credit is The Wilds. What would you say surprised you the most about stepping onto the set of a big Amazon production?
I mean, everything, everything. I hadn't done anything before. I was fresh out of drama school. I didn't know how anything worked. I didn't know what any of the names were or any of the lingo. So everything was such a learning experience and such a surprise. And I wasn't expecting anything. And I kind of wanted to go in with zero expectations because I didn't want to set myself up for anything. But everyone is so nice to you on set. Like, people are just so lovely, and especially on the Wilds. I mean, it was just so great to have a really great team off camera, like the producers Jamie Tarsis and Amy Harris and Sarah Stryker. They're all just powerhouses and so strong, and they just want you to bring as much of your creative input into the show as you can. And it's just the open conversation around the whole time, just amazing. I was not expecting to have such a great connection with everyone as part of the whole production. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, we all got along as a cast and that's great, but we actually all got along. Like, everyone was just incredible to work with. It's really set the bar really high now for me, I think.
Is there any particular element of the behind the scenes of making a show that you find yourself, I don't know, more drawn to or even understanding more?
I'm slowly getting to understand all of it a bit more as every day as I was on set, I was learning something. But I'm so drawn to writing and how it works and behind the scenes. Like, they are just incredible people, like thinking on the spot, like drawing information from everywhere and just like changing things in the chair, giving it, like, they're just so clever and just, that's so creative. Like, they're literally creating like this story out of just themselves. It's a really cool thing to witness. And I just wanted to like watch it. Like, every time they were like writing or changing something, and it just was like so fascinating to me.
I have one more behind the scenes question for you because I love asking this. When you
Yeah.
first started on the show, what was a seemingly silly question about the way production works that maybe you were afraid to ask that now you know the answer to and you wish you did at the beginning?
Oh gosh, that is a good question. So many. I feel like I'm not usually scared to ask for anything, but I'll ask any questions. But I do remember um, getting our like call sheets, and they were just handed to me, and I looked at it, and I was like, I have no idea what this is. Like, there was like wardrobe, like all the different like acronyms for everything. I had no idea. I was just like, but yeah, I just had to ask Erin or someone who had like done it before, and they were like, oh, you've never seen a call sheet before? This is what it is. Yeah.
So speaking of asking your castmates things, I correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe this is your first screen credit, but everybody else had varying amounts of experience. So what was it kind of like being in an ensemble like that as the newbie? Was it kind of comforting to have them all around you, and who would you turn to the most for, I don't know, advice on the whole process?
It was so comforting. Yeah, some people might look at it and be like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. There are people here, I'm way out of my depth, sort of thing. I didn't really feel that. I was just like, oh my gosh, teach me everything you know. This is so exciting. I just was so happy to be there and learn from these people. And I definitely turned to Ed and I a lot because we were just such close friends and similar people. So that was easy. But I feel like I go to each of the girls for different reasons. Just like their characters, like they're all so like unique to themselves, and everyone is so different. So when there's something that I need to ask about, like it depends on what it is, I'll go to different people for it. But they're always there, which is great.
Here's another one I love to ask of everyone in the ensemble: whose process was most similar to yours and who challenged you to adapt, maybe for the better?
That is a great question. I mean, I'd have to say either Sarah Pigeon or Edina James. Sarah and I both have been to drama school, so we kind of had that drama school energy, if that makes any sense. We were very connected, and we knew what each other were doing, and we were just there for each other, which was great, and just big for each other, which was awesome. I think because I'd never been on set before, all I was doing was kind of adapting. I knew what I needed to do for like my scenes, but I would constantly adapt to other actors to give them what they needed when it was their coverage or whatever it was. It was just learning, you know, the whole thing. I was just learning every day. So I didn't really come in with any like strict process. I was just like there to learn and do the best job that I could. And I'm happy that I was surrounded by a lot of very talented people.